This is the worst I've ever been for once. I'm so sorry. I'm so late. I feel terrible. Please forgive me.
No problem at all, bro. We understand. I mean, when you moving around like this, then it's hard to keep track.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and start? Because I know you guys all need to do things. Gora Draganya Gana Gocha Goloduharam Goranga Buddha Tamagopya Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namam Dhamma Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dile Kakola Ahe Premananda Hemona Gauranga Hridaya Dariya Bola Vaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Samure Jejana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Vidana Parama Kumata Tasmai Jaganmangalam Galaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madhgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishi Yusta Kriya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Chasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Brajava Ahimam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I hope all the devotees there in South Africa, you'll be very nice to our friends Brajabanita and Ujjwala Rasagya, two special guests today. Brajabanita is a special lady, aside from having a good heart for cats, which is always a good sign in a real person. She's a refugee from Ukraine who went to Israel to have peace of mind.
Very few, yes, exactly.
So maybe you should invite her to come and stay in South Africa. And Ujjwala Rasagya.
No, next I will go to Russia.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We know you won't. They won't even let you in there. They know you're an Ukrainian terrorist. It's nice to have you with us, Brother Bhajan. We haven't seen so much of you or any of the devotees here. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for being so late. I'm going to try to keep to our original schedule, which means I should finish pretty soon here. Let's just go ahead and start. We'll do a lot of reading and discussion today. Our subject is, this is our 16th session in the series that we're calling, go ahead and pause this. The 16th session in the series we're calling Mahaprabhu's Bhajan and the Gambhira. And today we're going to speak something about the three states of consciousness that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had In the Gambhira, when we say in the Gambhira, it doesn't mean that we're only talking about when he was inside that little room, but we're talking about that period of Mahaprabhu's life, his Bhajan. We call that the Gora Gambhira Bhajan. And we'll have one more session next week. So when we speak about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we often quote this verse from Adi Lila chapter 6, which I'll go ahead and put on the board here. This is, you could say, the nutshell verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Everything within Chaitanya Charitamrita is contained within this verse. Shivadaya pranaya mahima kiddhisovanayaiva swadyo yenabhuta madurima kiddhisova madiyaha sokyam chashamananabhavata kiddhisam vati lobhata bhavaja samajani sapchigarva sindo harendu. It speaks about three reasons why Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we're not going to give class on this verse today, but we want to use this verse to understand about these three states of consciousness. The purpose that Krishna came, this is the three internal reasons. Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidriso. Kidriso means that he was wondering, what is it? What is the greatness of Mahima of Radharani's Pranaya? It doesn't say Prema, it says Pranaya. If you want to know why it says Pranaya instead of Prema, you should read Embankment of Separation. That's a separate discussion. I won't go there. But that was his first reason. He wanted to know what is the glories of her love, in particular, the pranaya. Swadyo yena bhuta madhurima. He could do so. He wanted to understand also that what is it that Srimati Radharani is tasting. Swadyo. And sokyam chasha, sokyam means a happiness. What happiness does she get in seeing me? So we understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radha. And his ecstasies and his consciousness are all in connection with Radha. However, in Navadvip Leela, he wasn't so free to relish the mood of Srimati Radharani because there were a lot of conflicting emotions and things. He had to deal with his mother, Sachi. He had to deal with Vishnupriya, his wife. He had so many friends in Navadvip, and everybody was approaching him in different ways. And Krishna's promised, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam satayla bhajamiham. However someone approaches me, I'll reciprocate accordingly. So he was doing that. But Srimati Radharani's love is vyavasyatmika buddhi, ekeha. It's one-pointed. So therefore, to taste Radharani's mood, he took sannyas. And he left Navadvip and he came to Jagannath Puri. And Kaviraj Goswami describes that it was there in the Gambhira that he fulfilled his desire. These three desires were fulfilled, not in Vrindavan, not in Navadvip, not in South India, not in South Africa, but they were fulfilled in the Gambhira. And he explains that these ecstasies are so extraordinary. Loki nahi deki aichi shashi nahi suni. Nobody's ever seen any ecstasies like this. We've never heard about it in any book or anything. The kind of ecstasies that Mahaprabhu was experiencing in Jagannath Puri. So now let me bring you to the main verse we want to speak about today. This is Anchi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chapter 15, text number 5. Kabhu bhavai magna kabhu ardabhaya spurti kabhu bhaya spurtitina riti prabhu stiti. Word kabhu means sometimes. Kabhu bhava magni. Sometimes his consciousness would he be sometimes in bhaya spurti, or sometimes bhaya spurti, or sometimes madhya spurti. There were three different levels, three different types of consciousness, three different states of consciousness. Level is not a good word to use because it gives the sense that there's a progression in it, and that one is higher or lower. Although in this discussion, it's a fact that his internal ecstasy is a higher kind of ecstasy. So he maintained himself in these three states of consciousness. This is to understand what's going on in the Gambhira, we need to really understand these three states of consciousness. It's a very fascinating subject. So let's go. In Anjalila chapter 18, Kaviraj Goswami speaks a little bit about it again, about these three states of consciousness. Tina Dashaya, Tina means three. Tina Dashaya means a condition, a state. So these three conditions, Mahaprabhu Rahina Sarvakal, he was in these three conditions all the time, one of these three states. Antardasa, Bahyadasa, Arda, Bhaya, Ar. Internal, external, and Arda Bhaya. Bhaya means external. Arda means half external. Or in other places, he calls it madhya, in the middle. Antardasa, Kichu Gora, Kichu Bhaya Gyan, She Dasha Kahi Bhakta Arda Bhaya Nam. He was deeply absorbed in this antardasa, this internal condition. But sometimes he exhibited some external consciousness, and sometimes he was in a half consciousness. Devotees would call it Arda Bhaya, or half external consciousness. So what is this? Is such an amazing discussion by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to understand the mood of the Lord in such a deep, intimate way. I'm not aware of any discussion like this about Lord Ramachandra or any other incarnation. Krishna, we hear some things in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but not as intimate as this. And especially for a manifestation of the Lord like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Srimati is Krishna himself, Nami Krishna Sarupam, but Radha Bhavaduti. He's in the mood and he has a complexion of Srimati Radharani. So let's look a little bit about this now. I'm going to go through different places in Chaitanya Charitamrita now and just discuss this external consciousness is discussed by Kaviraj Goswami in chapter 16 of next chapter in Anjalila. He says, Tam Sabara Sangi Prabhu Chila Bhaya Gyan. That as long as the devotees were there in Jagannath Puri, then Mahaprabhu maintained his Bhaya Gyan, this external consciousness. And he would talk with them, and how is your wife, and how is your children, and how is this, and how is that. But Tanre Geli Punahoila Ummada Pradhan. After they would leave, then again, his primary engagement, Pradhan means chief. His chief engagement, Prabhupada translates it, was the madness of ecstatic love for Krishna. So I want to share a few different examples of this. One is a story that some of you have heard me tell a number of times, and that's found in the 14th chapter of the Anjalila. And that's a story about Mahaprabhu's daily activities. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would sometimes tell the devotees in Jagannath Puri, he would give them some advice and tell them that you should go to the beach early in the morning between like 5 and 6 and take your bath and japa. And why? He said, because at that time of day, every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates are there taking bath. Now Mahaprabhu is staying in the Gambhira. You know where the Gambhira is at. And you know where the Purushottam Mutt's at in the Tota Gopinath. So Mahaprabhu would walk every day to the ocean early in the morning. It sounds like about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning or something, and he would take bath. And then after taking bath, he would go to the Jagannath Mandir to have darshan of Lord Jagannath from Mangalarti. So the 14th chapter of Anjalila says that one morning, after having taken bath like that, he was walking to the Jagannath Mandir along with his associates, and he saw this Chatak Parvat. He saw this hill, which Mahaprabhu mistook, or he took to be Govardhan Hill. And all of a sudden, he's walking along peacefully with the devotees, and all of a sudden, he becomes ecstatic. He raises his hands in the air and he starts running and calling out this verse. Antaya Madhira Vada Haridasuvaryo Yad Rama Krishna Charana Spadasa Pramoda Manam Janoti Sahagorgana Yustayoryat Pani Yasuya Vasakandara Kanda Mulai. It's a verse which is spoken by the gopis in the 10th canto, and they're glorifying Govardhan Hill. They're saying Hanta. Hanta means oh my. Hantayam Adr Abala. Abala. Bala means strength. So who is Abala? Abala are the girls, young girls. They're not real strong. They don't have physical strength. They have other kinds of strength. Hantayam Adr Abala Haridasava. My dear girlfriends, and Raghunadas Goswami describes Shiradika Bhakta Chandra, that this verse came from the moonlight lips of Srimati Radharani, that she's telling her girlfriends, Andaya Madhura Bala Haridasavari, that of all the devotees, Giriraj Govardhan is the best. So Mahaprabhu saw Chatak Parvat as Govardhan Hill and started glorifying Giriraj with this particular prayer. Now, I'd like to raise a question which I hadn't thought of before, and I don't know, I've never heard it raised before, but why this particular prayer? This is not the only verse to glorify Giriraj Govardhan. There's a number of different verses to think. Why this particular prayer? In this particular prayer, Giriraj is being described as the best of devotees. So, Mahaprabhu, if you study this pastime, he's in the mood of Sakhi Manjari, because later we'll hear how he fell into trance, and in his trance he saw Govardhan Hill, he saw Radha Krishna, he saw Radha and he saw Krishna separate from himself. He's not thinking on Krishna, he's not thinking on Radha, he's not thinking on the combined form, and some of the Sakhis were engaging him in service, was helping him make garments. That's the work of the Acharyas. So anyway, Mahaprabhu began speaking this verse, speaking about Giriraj Govardhan as a servant of Krishna, the best of servants. This was his internal mood. As we mentioned, I won't say more about it than that. I know. So Mahaprabhu began running like anything. Govinda ran after him but couldn't catch up with him. And then the devotees started shouting, and they all started running after him. Kaviraj Goswami says, Sri Damodar Goswami was there, Jagadananda Pandit was there, Gadadhar Pandit was there, Ramai, Nandai, Shankar Pandit, Paramananda Puri, and Brahmananda Bharati. And there was one devotee who was going very slow, Bhagavanacharya, because he was a little lame, had a kind of funny leg. So Mahaprabhu was going so fast. And then all of a sudden, he fell down on the ground, completely in ecstasy. The pores of his skin were erupting. Tears are coming from his eyes. Blood, perspiration was coming from all the pores of his body. He couldn't hardly speak anything. His body became the color of a white conch shell. He began to shake. And he fell down on the ground. And at that time, Govinda came to him. Govinda is Mahaprabhu's servant. He's an intimate devotee. And he began to sprinkle water on Mahaprabhu to revive him. But nothing happened. And then he started fanning Mahaprabhu with his outer garment. And that also didn't work. And then at that time, Sri Damodar Goswami and the other devotees arrived there. And seeing the condition of Mahaprabhu, they all began to cry. And they saw all the different asasaptikar bhavs, different 8 ecstatic symptoms, all manifest at the same time in Mahaprabhu's body. And then, let's go ahead and put this on the board here. This is our discussion. Very interesting thing happened. Word ucha means loud. Ucha sankirtana kori prabhura shravani. Sitala jale kore prabhura anga samarjana. that all the devotees at that time, they started very loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and washing Mahaprabhu's body. Sitala means cold. Sitala Jali, cold water. They started bathing Mahaprabhu's body. Hare Krishna Jaguar, nice to see you. Hey Mata Maha Bahu Bhada Kirtana Karite Hari Bolo Bhali Prabhu Ute Achambite. So they were chanting, they were doing kirtan for some time. And then all of a sudden Mahaprabhu jumped up. Haribo, Haribo, like this. Huh? And then Sanande Shakala Vaishnava Bole Hari Hari Utila Mangala Dvani Chata Dik Bhari. He started chanting Hari Hari, and all the devotees started chanting very loudly Hari Hari. They became very, very ecstatic. Uti Mahaprabhu Vishmita iti uti chai, jadeki te chai, tahadeki te na pai. And then at that time, Mahaprabhu became confused. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Sarvagya. He knows everything. But he's become mugdha. Mugdha means confused. He was confused. And he's looking here and there, trying to see something, but he couldn't catch sight of it. Vaishnava Deki Prabhu Arda Bhaya Hoila. Surupa Gosha Kich Kaite Lagila. So Mahaprabhu, then all of a sudden he saw the devotees. And Kaviraj Goswami says that Arda Bhaya Hoila. At that time he manifested then this Arda Bhaya consciousness. External, partial consciousness, half there and half not there. And still confused, he spoke to Sri Damodar Goswami. Govardhana hoite more, ta'iha nila, pana Krishna lila deki tina paila. Who brought me here from Govardhan Hill? He was confused. Where am I? And I said, I was seeing Krishna's pastimes, but now I can't see them. Ihan hoite aji. Genu Govardhani, Dekon Jadi Krishna Korina Godana Charani. He said, today I went from here to Govardhan Hill to find out if Krishna was tending his cows there. Govardhana Chadi Krishna Bhajaila Venu, Govardhana Chodike Kori Shabadini. And I saw Krishna there. And Krishna was climbing Govardhan Hill. Bhajaila Venu, he's playing his flute, and Govardhana Chodike Chari Sabadenu. He was surrounded, Chodike Chari Sabadenu, on all sides by cows. And then at that time, when Srimati Radharani and her Gopi friends heard Krishna blowing the flute, they all came to see Krishna, and all those gopis were very nicely dressed. And then Mahaprabhu describes that Radha Lana Krishna Praveshila Kandarite. Kandar means a cave. I saw at that time Pravesh means to enter into. I saw Radha and Krishna enter into a cave together. And then at that time, Saki Gana Kahi More Fula Utaite. Some other gopis, they asked me to pick flowers. I'm not going to go so deeply into this discussion this pastime today. There's another topic which is connected with this, but I'm just going to touch on it. And that is that this is a very extraordinary pastime because Mahaprabhu is not in the mood of being Krishna, as he was in the house of Srivas Thakur during the Mahaprakash Leela. He's not in the mood of Radharani, as he often is in Gambhira and other places. But he's not in the mood of a gopi. He's in the mood of a gopi, but not in one of the Sakis. He's in the mood of a manjari. And it's significant, I think, that he began glorifying Giriraj Govardhan prior to this as the best of devotees. So that is a whole nother discussion I'm not going to go into today. We just want to try to look a little bit about these three states of consciousness. So then Mahaprabhu told them, Hena Kali, just at that time, Tumi Sabha, all of you, Kolahala Kaila. He started making this big noise. What was that big noise? That was the kirtan of Sri Damodar Goswami and Gadadhar Pandit and other devotees. Taho Haiti Dari, And then you brought me, you brought me from there to this place. And Mahaprabhu still sounds like looking around, kind of like, where am I? Huh? And he says, Keni va'anila more, Britta duka dite, Pana Krishna de lila napainu dekite. Why have you brought me here? Huh? Causing me britta duka dite. You're causing me all this pain. I had a chance to see Krishna's pastimes, but I could not see them. What kind of kirtan is this? Sri Damodar Goswami, 2 sessions ago, we spoke about how Sri Damodar Goswami is Lalita in Krishna Lila. And so this is the kirtana of Lalita. It causes Krishna pain and makes him upset and takes away his ecstasy. That's a little hard to understand. Eta Boli Mahaprabhu, Korina Krandana, Mahaprabhu began to cry and cry for saying this. Tuna Dasa Deki Vaishnava Korina Radhana. And were all the devotees, they saw this Dasa Deki, they saw the condition of Mahaprabhu. Korina Rodhana, they also began to cry and cry. So this is one example of Mahaprabhu. He was in this Bhaya, Chaitana, this external consciousness, associating with the devotees, taking his morning bath, and then he was going to the Jagannath Mandir, and suddenly he saw Chatak Parvat, and he saw that his Govardhan Hill, and he went into this internal consciousness, and he fell down unconscious. This Anta Chaitana, and then the devotees came and did this kirtan and brought him initially to this Ardha, half consciousness, and then he came to regular external consciousness. Another example like this is also found when Mahaprabhu was rescued by the fishermen in Konark. And when Mahaprabhu, one day he saw the Jamuna, he saw that the ocean is a Jamuna, and he jumped in. And to this day, in Puri, if you swim in the water there, the water will take you in a northerly direction. It took him all the way north up to Konark. And so the devotees went searching for him. We've been with some of our friends, I think, in the forest, just north of where our ashram used to be. Jaguar, we took you there also, yeah. Yeah, of course. And that forest, this is the way where Ramananda Roy and Sri Damodar Goswami and others, they went walking, trying to find Mahaprabhu, understanding he must have been taken in a northerly direction. And they came and they met this fisherman who was a crazy fellow who was chanting Hare Krishna, and he crying, and he thought a ghost had attacked him or something. And Sri Damodar Goswami told him, look, I'm a ghostbuster. and I can solve your problem, but where is this ghost? And he told him, interestingly too, he said, he's a Vaishnava. He's a fisherman, but he's a Vaishnava fisherman. And a great devotee. He was chanting the Shringa prayers every day when he was out to sea. And this one day he caught a big fish in the net. And he was very happy. Fishermen are always happy when they catch a big fish. But this fisherman was a dead body, this fish. And he said, when I touched it, a ghost entered into me. And I started chanting Krishna, Krishna, I couldn't stop it. So Sri Damodar Goswami asked him, we want to see that ghost. So they took him there to see the Lord. And there Mahaprabhu was laying on the sand. His body was bleached white by the water. He was covered from head to toe with sand. And his body, all the joints on his body were elongated, disengaged. Ati dirga siti latanu charma natkai, durapata utanabhare ananaja najai. His body was all stretched out, his skin was slack and hanging loose. And so to take him home in that kind of condition, you imagine how could they carry him? It wasn't possible. So they took off his kopans and they put a dry one on. And then they lay him down in some dry cloth and they cleaned the sand from his body. And then it said again, Shabi Meli Ucha Kori. Same phrase uses in the previous passage. Ucha Kori. They all started doing loud kirtan. Korina Sankirtan. Ucha Kori Krishna Nama. Kohena Prabhu Kani. He started loudly doing kirtan in Mahaprabhu's ear. And after some time of hearing that sound of kirtan, Mahaprabhu suddenly jumped up and he made this roaring sound. Hunkara Kori. Hunkara means like a roaring sound. He began to shout very loudly. And then suddenly, Utaite Ashti Saba, Lagila Nijastani, his bones went back to their proper places. And then Ardabhayi, Prabhupada Goswami uses this expression, Ardabhayi, he came to half external consciousness. And again, Iti Uti Karine Darshan, he started looking around. Ardabhayi Kohina Prabhu Pralapa Vachani. So in this half external consciousness, Prabhu Pralapa Vachani, he started speaking this pralap like a mad person. Akashi Kohina Prabhu, Sunine Bhaktagana. He began speaking like a madman. And the devotees, they heard him speaking to the sky. This is your God. Kalindi Deki Ami Gailana Brindavan. Deki Jalakrita Korina Brajendra Nandana. He said, I saw the Jamuna and I went to Brindavan. And then I saw the son of Nanda Maharaj doing his Jalakrita Leela, doing his pastimes in the water. Radhikari Gopi Gane, Sangha Ekatamili. And he was there with so many different gopis headed by Srimati Radharani. And Mahaprabhu says, Tide means on the bank. Tide Rahi Dekiyami. I was watching this from the bank of the Jamuna, Shakigana Sangha, along in the company of the gopis. So again, in this pastime, he's seeing Radha and Krishna separate from himself, and he's seeing himself as a servant of the gopis. And one gopi, Eka Sakigani, Dekaye Sehirange, one gopi was showing some of the other gopis the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the water, pointing them out, see how Krishna is being such a rascal. He's splashing water in Radharani's face. And Radharani, she's very brave, she's strong, and she splashes it back at him. And so then some of the gopis were fanning Radha and Krishna, some were massaging his feet, some of them fed him betel nuts to chew. Then Radha and Krishna fell asleep, and all the gopis also lay down. And Mahaprabhu said, when I saw this, my mind was very happy. And then he said, Hena Kali Moradadi Mahakolaha Kori. Then all of a sudden, Hena Kali, all of you came and started making this loud noise. The kirtan of Sukdam Lita. You started making this loud noise. Tumi Saba Ihan Lena Oila. And you brought me back here. Now Kahan Jamuna, Kahan Vrindavan, Kahan Krishna, Kahan Gopi Gana. Where's the Jamuna? Where's Vrindavan? Where's Krishna? Where are the gopis? Say Sukha Bhanga Kaila. You've broken my happiness. Mahaprabhu was speaking like that. Ete ke kahite Prabhu kevala bhaya hoya. And then after speaking like this, in Mahaprabhu came kevala bhaya. He returned to external consciousness. And Sri Damodar Goswami, when he saw that, then he asked him, Mahaprabhu asked him, Ihan Kani Tomar Amare Lina Aile, why did you bring me here? Why did you bring me here? What kind of kirtan is Sri Damodar Goswami doing? How do we understand this thing? And Sri Damodar Goswami told him, Yamunara Brahme Tumi Samudra Padila Samudvera Taranga Asi Eta Duri Island. You saw the sea, and you had this Brahma, you had this mistake, this illusion. You thought that it was the Jamuna, and you jumped into it. And the Samudra Taranga, the waves, brought you here. So very, very interesting pastime. How do we understand this thing? I remember some years ago in Puri, we were reading Chaitanya Charitamrita and Jalila every night, a small group of intimate devotees. And someone asked us this question, how do we understand the kirtan of Srup Damodar Goswami? That it brings pain to Mahaprabhu's heart, takes away his ecstasy, takes away his vision of Vrindavan, and brings him back to external consciousness. What kind of kirtan is that? Okay, we're gonna address that point. But I'd like now to go to another discussion of Chaitanya Charitamrita. A little earlier chapter. This is from section when Mahaprabhu is being described in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens. In the Gambhira, we hear how Mahaprabhu's senses, one at a time, became attracted to Krishna. And in this particular pastime, it said that Krishna Paya Ganda Mata Paya, that he could smell the fragrance of Krishna's body. So when he was able to smell, when that fragrance of Krishna's body came to him. And this is interesting because also for sadhaks, and Mahaprabhu was acting like a sadhak, for sadhaks, Krishna will appear to different senses of the body. And one is you may smell him, you may hear him. We have panchagyanam, we have 5 knowledge acquiring senses, which generally can only perceive pancha tanmatra, or dull matter. But when the devotees, through bhakti, they are able to directly see Krishna, just like Sridhar Swami's commentary in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna on 434, where he says that Tattvadarshi means Aparokshana Bhava Sampana. Aparokshana Bhava Sampana means that someone who directly sees. That's Guru. They're directly seeing Krishna. It's not just a theoretical thing. There's someone who directly sees. So this is Mahaprabhu. This is a perfect example. So one day he smelled the fragrance of Krishna's body and went mad, running to Jagannath Vallabha Gardens. Another time he heard the sound of Krishna's flute. Another time in his dreams he saw Krishna in the Ras Leela. Another time he experienced that Krishna reached out and touched him. He felt the body of Krishna. In this way, all of his different senses were being engaged in that way. So Mahaprabhu went running there, and Krishna disappeared. And then the devotees were lamenting. Mahaprabhu was unconscious. And then what do you think happened? They did kirtan for him. Let's put this on the board here. So Rupa Ramananda Gaya, Srup Damodar and Ramananda Roy started doing kirtan. Prabhu Nache Sukhapai, singing the Lord, and Mahaprabhu began to dance and enjoy happiness. And they made this plan then, we've got to do something. Because at that time, Mahaprabhu was still in internal consciousness. He was dancing, but he was gone. He was just lost to this world. So they made a plan, Mahaprabhu Bhaya Spurti Kaila, to bring him to external consciousness. And 2 verses later says, E Mata Mahaprabhu Pana Chaitana, that Mahaprabhu returned his consciousness to external consciousness. And then he took bath and went to see Lord Jagannath. So this is a question I'd like to address. How do we understand Srup Damodar Goswami's kirtan causing some disturbance to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Well, first of all, let's look back a little bit at one point that we've made repeatedly in some of our previous sessions. And that is that when the Lord appears, he appears with his associates, he appears with the Dham. And that particular Dham, whether it's Jagannath Puri, whether it's Vrindavan, whether it's Dwarka or Mathura or Ayodhya, Vaikuntha, that particular Dham perfectly enhances the particular desire that the Lord has to enjoy. And we spoke about this, and when he wants to enjoy in a certain way, the Dham manifests in a certain way. And similarly, different devotees come to help enhance those pastimes. So we spoke a few sessions ago about Sri Damodar Goswami and how he's Lalita, and as Lalita and Ramananda Roy, their function is as Lalita and Vishaka, as Sri Damodar and Roy Ramananda. Their primary function is to help Krishna, who's come as Mahaprabhu, to understand and taste the mood of Srimati Radharani. And so this is what we'll speak about in our next session, the Gora Gambhira Bhajan Pranali. What is the system of Bhajan in the Gambhira? It's a very unusual system of Bhajan because we've never heard of any Bhajan Pranali where the sadhak or the devotee who's performing the Bhajan is doing Bhajan not for himself. Everyone else is doing bhajan for themselves. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that everyone, when they worship the Lord, they have some desire they want fulfilled. But in the case of Ramananda Roy and Sri Damodar Goswami, they're doing it wholly for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna, because they want to help him to taste the mood of Srimati Radharani, because he can't understand. Because by nature, he's Priti Vishroy, he's the object of love. And the Priti Vishroy cannot understand the Priti Ashray, the abode of love. He can understand, he gets the happiness, as Kaviraj Goswami says, Krishna says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi chapter 3, I get the happiness that's due me as God. But Radharani's happiness is much, much greater than mine. So he wanted to taste that. But he doesn't know how to taste that because he knows how to be God, but he doesn't know how to be a devotee. It's a very, very difficult thing. You have someone who's been a manager for their whole life or something, and all of a sudden now they're just trying to be a rank and file general devotee. And it's hard for them. They just want, everybody should be asking my opinion. I should be in charge of everything. I should be controlling everything. That's the general mood of a manager. So Krishna's like that. What do I do now? I don't know how to be a devotee. So Radharani's two most intimate associates, Lalita and Vishaka, came as Sri Damodar and Ramananda Roy to teach Krishna, to teach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to relish the mood of Radha. And therefore, the curriculum that they had, the syllabus, was the songs of Chandidas and Vidyapati, Jayadev Goswami, and others, Bilvamangala Thakur. That was the syllabus, because those songs speak about the mood of Radha. It's very difficult for us to understand those songs. We don't relate to them. They're not meant for us to relate to. They're meant to express the feelings of Srimati Radharani. We sometimes devotees may wonder, why don't we sing those songs? The Vidyapati or Chandidas or this or that. They're not for us. They're meant for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're meant for devotees, someone who wants to understand the mood of Radha. So how do we understand Sri Damodar Goswami's Lalita, the most intimate of Radharani's friends, and yet her kirtan makes Mahaprabhu come to external consciousness? Well, we can look at this in both a Bahiranga or external way and Antaranga way. Externally, it's not so hard to understand. The devotees have become very disturbed when they saw Mahaprabhu's body elongated. You can imagine you go to see your Guru Maharaj, he's not talking, just going, and his body's all disjointed. You start crying, oh my God, what happened to Guru Maharaj? Is he going to live? And sometimes with Mahaprabhu, they couldn't even find any breath. They thought he had left his body. So they were very, very disturbed by that. That's obvious. So they would do that kirtan. But why? That doesn't satisfy our question. Why Mahaprabhu complain? What's wrong with their kirtan? There was something. Why is it that Mahaprabhu was complaining like that? So now I'd like to take you. I just want to just see who's online right now. Hare Chandra, Hare Krishna. Not so long ago in Czech Republic, we gave some dramatic reading in the house of Leela Purushottam, who is not here right now, just checking. from a book that we've been working on. And Jaguar is going to chastise me. We shouldn't talk about it. That we're not publishing this book yet. It's a book by Krishna Kama Goswami, who was an associate of Bhakti Thakur and Puri. A book called Divyonmada. Divyonmada means divine ecstasy. And it's a phrase which is often used, sometimes for Srimati Radharani, sometimes for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in Divyonmada, I'd like to just share with you a little bit of Radharani's ecstasy and how she was experiencing what went on. This drama, Divyonmada by Krishna Kama Goswami, was a play. It was a very, very popular play in West Bengal. They sold, they said at the time, this is about 100 years or so ago, that practically every house you go to had a copy of this book. Today it's a little rare. But when Krishna left Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani became Divyonmada. She became mad in ecstasy and separation from Krishna. And the gopis were trying to figure out what to do. And then Lalita, she told Radharani, I know what it is. It's one of his tricks. He's just hiding in the bushes somewhere, watching us. He hasn't really. And by speaking like this, Radharani got hope. Yes, you're right, it must be so. And then Radharani just jumped up and started running into the forest, searching for Krishna, even though they just seen Krishna leave. But in her madness, she's thinking, she's clutching at any hope that Krishna may be present somehow. And so she's going, and all of a sudden she hears a sound. Did you hear that? Krishna's playing his flute. Huh? Let's go. He's calling me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that Esho Radha Dekayesham, that Krishna's calling out Radhe Radhe. He's playing his flute and he's calling Radhe Radhe. Oh Radharani, come. And then the gopis and Radharani looks at them because the gopis were a little like, is she okay? What should we do? And she's going mad. And they were kind of hesitating for a moment. And then Radharani says, it's okay. I understand you're worried about your superiors. You don't have to go. I'm going to go by myself. and she starts running. And then Radharani stops again. And then she looks up in the sky and she sees a dark cloud. And she thinks the cloud is Krishna. Because the cloud, the bluish blackish cloud, we even say the word Ganesham. Krishna Ganesham literally means a blackish cloud. And she sees a rainbow by the cloud. And she thinks a rainbow is a peacock feathers in Krishna's head. And she sees some cranes, some white birds in the distance, and she thinks those are white pearls on Krishna's breast. And she sees a flash of lightning, and she thinks that was Krishna's dhoti. And she's staring then at this cloud, and she's shaking. And then Radharani starts calling out to her maidservants, come, Krishna's come. Even without us looking for him. He came to see us. Let's go to him. We're lamenting, we're searching for him in this wilderness, but out of his love for us, he's come to meet us. What good fortune has dawned for us. All our misfortune is finished. So now we should fill up some jars of water and bring some kumkum and auspicious things, and we should offer them to Krishna. And Radharani's just staring at that cloud, and she begins to speak and speak to the cloud, thinking the cloud is Krishna. And Radharani says, "Oh, great souls, you remembered us after all this time. It's very strange. Our life just hangs on the hope of just seeing you." And the cloud is just staying there in one place because it's a cloud. That's kind of what clouds do sometimes. And then Radharani becomes more confused, and she says, "Why are you just staying there? Why don't you come to us? We're suffering in separation from you. We're ready to die. Now we're meeting again. So you should come to us. And the cloud doesn't say anything, because that's what clouds do, generally speak. And then Radharani becomes more confused. And she says, are you angry with me? Don't you remember when I was angry with you and I wouldn't let you touch my feet, and you prayed to me, Radhe, have mercy on me. And now I'm throwing myself at your feet. And then suddenly the cloud starts moving. The wind blows, that's what clouds do. And then Radharani's eyes become very big. And she says, hey, Sakis, now he's gone. He's left. Why should I live anymore in this world? Krishna's left us. Our love is not pure enough. And then Srimati Radharani falls down unconscious and faints. And then the gopis, they come and they say, Radhe, it's okay. It wasn't Krishna. It's just a cloud. Why are you crying? Why are you doing like this? You're addressing a cloud, but Krishna hasn't really come. You shouldn't die. Don't die. If you die, then all of us are also going to die out of grief. So this is a little expression of Srimati Radharani's feelings. And I'm just sharing this with you to try to understand the kirtan of Sri Damodar Goswami, the purpose. The purpose of his kirtan is to help Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna to understand the mood of Radha. Well, what is the mood of Radha? The mood of Radha is not like driving across a flat desert. The mood of Radha is more like going on a roller coaster in Disney World. And it goes up, and then it comes crashing down, and then sometimes it stops in one place, then it starts going up, very slow, and then it stops, and then it comes crashing down. And this way it's up and it's down. So Sri Damodar Goswami also wants Mahaprabhu, Krishna, to experience this. So sometimes Radharani, she's experiencing the ecstasy of Milan, of union. And in her madness, she sees a cloud as Krishna. But then suddenly the cloud disappears. So this is the feelings of Radha, and this is what Sri Damodar Goswami has to help Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experience. Now, from an external perspective, we can say the devotees are very upset. They saw Mahaprabhu in this bizarre, terrible kind of situation, and that they were lamenting for him, and therefore they started doing kirtan to bring him back to external consciousness. But there's a much, much deeper thing, which we can find if we think deeply about it, that Lalita Saki, she's doing kirtan for Radha. In the story we're just reading from Divyamata, she's saying, hey, Radha, look, there's Krishna. That's kirtan. Look, there's Krishna. That's literally what we're doing in kirtan. Look, there's Krishna. And she's helping Radharani to stay alive. So now she has a different job. Instead of helping Radharani, she's helping Krishna to taste the mood of Radharani. And to help Krishna taste that mood of Radharani, Lalita, Sri Damodar Goswami, has a very interesting job to do, that he's going to bring union, help Mahaprabhu's union. And sometimes we're reading how Sri Damodar Goswami is reading verses from the Bhagavatam about the Rasa Leela, about this or that, and then suddenly Krishna, Mahaprabhu sees Krishna because of the kirtan, the reading of Sri Damodar Goswami. Suddenly he sees Krishna, and then Krishna disappears, and then Mahaprabhu begins to cry and roll on the ground, and then Sri Damodar Goswami does kirtan again, and that kirtan brings him to external consciousness. It's not cruelty. We see these three states of consciousness with Srimati Radharani also. But sometimes she's completely gone, and the gopis don't know what to say to. She's talking to a cloud and crying to the cloud's not speaking back to her. She's really believing that. And then other times she's a little confused. Is the cloud Krishna and what's going on? She's in Ardha, half external consciousness. And then other times she's in Bhaya Chaitanya. She's in so-called external consciousness with the gopis, and she recognizes Lalita and Vishaka and others. So this is the consciousness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has these three states of consciousness, the three states of consciousness that Srimati Radharani experiences. And the Kirtan of Sri Damodar Goswami and the devotees is done to enhance those feelings of Mahaprabhu. If there was only union, constant union, and Sri Damodar Goswami Kirtan and then Mahaprabhu saw Krishna and there was union, or if he just saw Jagannath and he's constantly with Krishna and from a Jagannath, then he wouldn't be able to understand the mood of Radharani. But because he sees it and then it disappears, and then the devotees bring him to external half consciousness, in the way to external consciousness, and external consciousness, and then he's lamenting, I had this thing, what did you do? Why did you bring me here? What kind of kirtan are you doing? So this is something about the kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Gambhira, his Bhajan, and these three different states of consciousness. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Interesting subject matter, something we've been thinking about for a long time. I think this is the first time I've actually sat down and spoke at length about it.
In this way, yes.
Yeah, Krishna confirming. So if anybody has any reflections or comments, you can go ahead. Maybe any devotees who have to, anybody's in India. Is anybody here in India right now? Let's see. I don't see anybody. Ujjwala Rasika, I think, sorry, Ujjwala Rasika is still there. Ujjwala, if you needed to, if you want to share something, you need some time, let me know right away. Otherwise, we'll go ahead with Tagore.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My pranams to you. And a very happy birthday, a special day for us, a special day for us, your birthday. Happy birthday, Prabhu. And
What's to say there?
yeah, the katha is so good. So good. The three states, and especially about the last state, how very nicely you explained how the katha of Sarvabhauma, not Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. What is blanket of his name? Swarup Damodara. Yes, both of them. Yes, Swarup Damodara. That how it is favoring, still favoring Mahaprabhu. That was very nicely explained, Prabhu. Very wonderful. And this thought comes to me very frequently. All this esoteric, these moods of Gauranga, they are far out there. And here we are, ooh, Anardhana Vritti. Krishna, where is the bridge in between? That's one thing. Second thing is, unless somebody, maybe I should say it this way, directly proportional to how much one is in Nirmatsara, to that degree, these modes and these valuable esoteric things are understood and perceived. So how much one is Nirmatsara, to that degree, they are perceivable. Yes, Prabhu, I'm wondering if you could comment on that. Otherwise, all of us would be hearing, but only some can relish it, understand it, perceive it better. Yes, Prabhu.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not come, we would not be able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam.
Mm-hmm.
Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He's a personification of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Mm-hmm.
He's a living Bhagavad. And we hear from the associates of Mahaprabhu, Dvaishtani Bhagavata, that there are two Bhagavats. There's the Grantha Bhagavat, the book Bhagavat, or Krishna Kripa Patra, and the Bodhi Bhagavat. So Mahaprabhu's come as the devotee Bhagavat. And the Bhagavatam begins by describing Nimatsaranam Satam Vedyam. That if you want to understand Vedyam, this book, you have to be Nimatsaranam. You have to be free from envy. In other words, we have to approach the devotees. It's the only way we can understand the Grantha Bhagavat is through the Bhakta Bhagavat. There's no other way. So to teach us that, Krishna himself comes as a devotee, that I have to come, Jaho Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavadastani Kantashrai Kori Chaitanya Charani, that if we want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to do it through the devotee. So Mahaprabhu, to teach us that, he comes in the mood of a devotee. Is that helpful?
Yeah, Prabhu, we generally hear this. Yes, it has to be through devotees. But if we have to be very specific and very much relatable to us in general, what does that Nirmatsara mean? Because everybody hears Katha from a devotee. But how is it, where specifically this Nirmatsara element is coming, that is qualifying one more than others,
Well,
when everybody is hearing it from the devotee?
we have to do it on the foundation of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the end of the Gita, Krishna says, Idam te narapaskaya nabhakta kadachan. He said, don't speak this book to certain people who are not qualified. Don't speak it to someone who's envious. Don't speak it to someone who's not rendering service. Don't speak it to someone who's not a devotee. Otherwise, they can't understand it. But then in Gita 434, Tadviri Pranipatina Pariprashana Sevaya, Ramanujacharya explains that this verse is speaking about what is Shravanadi called qualification to hear. And that qualification to hear is we have to be Pranipat Pariprashana Sevaya. We have to submit ourselves in a way that's nirmatsana, that's free from envy. But who can submit themselves if we have envy? We can't do it. Boy George wrote that song, Bow Down Mission. People say, I'm not going to bow down to anybody. I remember hearing one devotee, he said, yeah, I like Krishna consciousness, Hare Krishna movement's really nice and that, but I went to the temple and I saw them all bowing down. And I'm not going to bow down to anybody. So somebody has some envy, we can't bow down. And we can't inquire in a submissive way, and we can't render service properly. So that 434 verse, and also the Idam te narapaskaya verse in the end of the 18th chapter, in that sense, I see some connection between the two of them. Saying Idam te narapaskaya, don't speak this to someone who doesn't have tapasya. Idam te narapaskaya nabhaktaya, who's not a devotee, kadachana, and chashashushaveh vachtam, who's not rendering service, and who's anasuya, who's envious. So who is that person? That person we hear about in 434, someone who's practicing pranipat pariprashana seva, who's submitting himself before the Lord's devotee. And this is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's come. And go to the devotee to teach us that we have to go through the devotees. We have no other choice. It's a very good point.
Proportionate to the submission and earnestness of the seeker is the revelation.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
We can all achieve something. We're not surrendered souls. My grandma said, without praying, your so-called
prema artificial.
It's not full, it's not complete, it's not genuine without prema. And that's the fact. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Jaguar, do you want to share something? This is right in the middle of your Harinam time, isn't it?
It's Sunday, actually, so. Yeah. But sorry I came late. I was confused by the time. I was actually on a walk, and I ran back here. So this is the time that it's going to be every time? Or?
Yeah, next week means every time. Next week's the last session.
Gotcha. Okay, so, oh yeah, I was hearing a katha by Ayandrapu, and he was mentioning that Lalita is Viyogini Shakti, and I remember that when you were speaking this past time. I heard you speak it before, but I connected more with it this time, I think. He says Viyogini Shakti means that she assists in the pastimes by creating some separation. And I was specifically thinking about, the pastime in Banquet of Separation, where Lalita Devi sends Krishna away. She's like, yells at him, calls him an unreliable person, and sends him away. And so it made sense to me hearing that Swarup Damodar's Goswami's kirtan would create separation in Mahaprabhu, because that's his service as Lalita Devi, to kind of like churn things a little bit. So I made that connection.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note that Vishaka, there's right-wing gopis and left-wing gopis. And then there's some like in the middle, and Vishaka's in the middle. Sometimes she's in the mood of a right-wing gopi, sometimes she's in the mood of a left-wing. And if you think about the kirtan of Lalita, she's always chastising Krishna, as you're pointing out, and bringing the separation to help enhance pastimes of the divine couple. And that's also the mood of the kirtan. That this Krishna, he's a rascal, this and that, and Swarup Damodar Goswami is singing that. And then what does Ramananda Roy do? Sometimes he's halfway. Sometimes he encourages, he supports what Swarup Damodar Goswami is saying, and other times he speaks something which brings about some reconciliation, and brings about some, by Swarup Damodar Goswami is primarily singing kirtan, and Ramananda Roy primarily is speaking Krishna Katha. So the function then of that kirtan is to set a particular mood, sometimes the chastisement, and the principal mood of the katha is to bring union.
Yeah. And I had kind of a question or something I'd like you to speak about a little more. I was speaking with a friend the other day, and we were speaking about when Mahaprabhu's exhibiting these ecstasies that are just, very strange, like you were talking about today. His joints become disconnected, or he turns into a pumpkin type of shape or whatever, or so many different, or even like he's rubbing his face on the wall inside the Gambhira. We were thinking that whatever Mahaprabhu does, it must be beautiful in some way. Although it seems like these things are like horrifying, and sometimes the devotees are kind of horrified by how he's presenting himself. But it's just hard to think about that Mahaprabhu can do anything that's not beautiful. I'm wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, our thoughts are that just like you ask any Hare Krishna question, you can't answer. He always says, "Well, Prabhu, you can look at it either way, because it's a change." That's what Hare Krishna devotees say, and it's a fact in this case also, because Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani, and there can't be anything more beautiful than that.
Yes.
Yeah. But at the same time, when he starts rubbing his face on the wall, he wants to commit suicide. That's very, very disturbing. Some years ago, we're always collecting paintings and pictures. Some years ago, I got some pictures at Radhakund of Mahaprabhu with his joints elongated, and another one with him like a pumpkin, and a third picture of him rubbing his face on the wall and blood coming and things. And I have to say, I didn't like those pictures. They weren't very nice at all. And I was just reflecting on it when you were saying this, and how the artist is doing the best that he can, but you can't portray the inner effulgence, the mood of Radharani in that picture. All that we're seeing is the blood and the skin being rubbed and things, and we're seeing some ghastly thing, and it's some form of Mahaprabhu. That's all that we're seeing. So for the devotees, they're horrified because they care about the body of Mahaprabhu, which is also one of Jiva Goswami's primary teachings too, that when we serve, we serve both the Vani and the Vapu. If we don't do Prasanga Rup Seva, if we don't serve the body, it has no meaning. If your Guru Maharaj comes to New York and he's just flown all the way from India. And you greet him and you say, Gurudev, there's some real neophyte devotees here in the group, and they want to make prasadam for you and give you a place to rest. But I know the real thing is Krishna Katha, not this body stuff. And you're not your body, you're not attached to your body. So you should just sit down and speak Krishna Katha with us, and never mind that prasadam, and never mind taking bath and having rest or anything like that. That's offensive. We want to serve the body of Gurudev. We want to serve the body of the Vaishnavas, and not that it's a material thing. So we also, the devotees, want to serve the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's very, very disturbing to them when they see Mahaprabhu laying on the hard ground with no mattress or anything, sleeping without a pillow. It's very disturbing to them to see him rubbing his face against the wall and not eating very much. And those things disturb them very, very much. And that's partly to teach us also. It's there because they're actually feeling that. But it's also to teach us that this is how we should behave with the Vaishnavas, not that we're just fanatical of Gurudev. We don't want to do anything for your body. We just want to hear Krishna Katha. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's hard to conceive of, definitely, Mahaprabhu in these types of situations.
Yeah, I'm reminded by some comments my Guru Maharaj would make sometimes when he would speak about some rather esoteric topics. He would tell us, you can't understand this.
Yeah.
And so I'm where am I to speak? I don't understand anything. But we're trying to just to speak this. And by speaking, by hearing, by remembering what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and others say, it gives us some benefit.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rajraj Gopal, do you want to share something? Can we see your smiling face?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. First of all, wishing you a very happy appearance. I'm so grateful that I got a chance this year to get some virtual Sangha from you. And I'm very grateful for your guidance when I've needed it. I'm praying for your long health and that I get some taste to not only hear your Hari Katha, but also an opportunity to serve you in your service to Hari Guru Vaishnavas.
Just recently I saw a scientific study they did on how the senses of the body react when you're talking on Zoom as compared how they act when you're in person. And it's very different. It's very, very different. It's something on Zoom. We're here together, something, but it's another thing in person. I hope we can get to see you sometime. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And also beautiful katha. I was just meditating on that section of where you were talking about Mahaprabhu chastising the devotees for pulling him out of the ocean and waking him up from his dream, kind of like disturbing his bhajan, disturbing his flow state. And sometimes to bring it to my level, I find it confusing because I know that I'm not getting any taste in my japa. It tastes like eating plastic. And, I see these exalted Vaishnavas and I want guidance, I want instruction, I want care, love, I want so many things from them, but they are deep in their bhajan. And so I feel, is it an offense to actually go and disturb them with my useless problems? And this pastime that you were sharing kind of reminded me of that. So I wanted to know what were your thoughts on this.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say this is exactly the same. I would more compare what you're saying. It was a Kamalakanta Vishwas in Chaitanya Charitamrita who owed some money to the king, and there was a apparent problem with the king's son, with the prince. Kamalakanta Vishwas was teasing him, and it's a long story. And so he was going to put him on the Tunga. Is it, am I saying the right name, Krishna? Gopinath
Yeah, it's
Patanaik.
Gopinath Patanaik.
Thank you. So Gopinath Patanaik, the devotees came to Mahaprabhu that, look, they're going to put him to death. You got to do something. And Mahaprabhu said, okay, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Don't speak to me about these mundane things. So things like what to speak of somebody coming and saying, such and such devotee wants to get married. or such and such devotee and his wife, they're having problems in their marriage. They're quarreling. So they want to come to you, Mahaprabhu, for counseling. I've never read where any Grihastha couples came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to complain about their quarrels. Now, maybe that happens somewhat, but if it did, we would expect that would have been in Navadvip. And certainly not in the Gambhira Leela, certainly not coming from Sukadamata Goswami or Roy Ramananda or the intimate devotees in the Gambhira. Just as Sanatana Goswami was traveling throughout Braj, and everyone loved him, treated him like a family member, and he would talk with them. How is your daughter doing? How's your foot now? You broke it last week. Is it better yet? Is it this? And he would talk to them about their mundane things. We hear about that in Bhakti Ratnakaya. He was doing it with the Brij Basis, perhaps partly to teach us, and by his own example, that he was seeing them as transcendental personalities. And Mahaprabhu was interacting like that with the devotees in Navadvip. In Puri, he was more doing bhajan, focusing on more to Srimati Radharani. And therefore, I wouldn't compare the Kirtan of Sukadamata Goswami to Gopinath Patanaika, his situation where he owed some money and it was like a mundane thing for Mahaprabhu. But this was a very, very deep internal thing. We can be assured of that. I haven't read any commentary. The things we're saying today are just things that I've understood by contemplating this thing, but I think they're very obvious to see. First of all, just as Srila Prabhupada once said, that in our analysis, in our pursuit of the truth in a scientific way, we want to begin with the assumption, with the understanding that God exists. That we'll start from that perspective, and then we'll begin our scientific research. Whereas the scientists begin just the opposite, with the understanding that God doesn't exist. So similarly, I would like to begin this discussion with the conception that Lalita is good, and that Sukadamata Goswami is good, and that he's not a bad person. Mahaprabhu chastised him. That there's something deeper there. There's nothing wrong with him. How can there be anything wrong with Sukadamata Goswami Lalita? That's the premise that I want to start with. So if we start with that premise, and then we look and see how Lalita was working with Krishna and Radharani and Braj Leela, and we see how Sukadamata Goswami, what his function is in Gaura Leela, then it all makes sense. And it's not very confusing at all. Does that make sense, Sri Prabhuji?
In connection to my question, so it is okay to actually approach them with such petty problems, our daily mundane problems? Well,
yeah, that was your question. Thank you. We have this verse on our board here, Braja Jana Jay Mata, that we should Tahi Habi Anugata, we should be following the mood of the Brij Basis. What is the mood of the Brij Basis? The Brij Basis are rural people. I grew up in a rural area, in a farmland in America, in Illinois, in southern Illinois. And I know something about farm people, and they're the same all over the world. I'm looking at some of my friends here in Hungary. They're simple people. And a lot of times they use bad words. And they talk in kind of a coarse way, a rough kind of way. And they're very straightforward. They're very, very simple people. They're not like city people who are very tricky and conniving and like that. So when Narottam Das Thakur says Raja Jana Raja Mata, we should understand the mata. We should be anugata, following the mood of the mata, the mood of the Brij Basis, I would say that this is one of the aspects of their mood, that they're very straightforward. And we should also be straightforward. It's not that we go to Gurudev and say, and before we go to Guru, we think, I know I'm not supposed to pray for anything mundane. And that's really bad. And Krishna Prema is the real thing that I want, that I should want. So we go to him, and even though you've got 4 girlfriends, and you're thinking to marry at least one of them, you go to Maharaj and you say, yeah, Maharaj, I don't want anything material. I just want spiritual life. I just want to be a premi bhakta. I just want Krishna Prem. And Jiva Goswami and Bhakti Sundarbha says that's Sakaitava Bhajan. That's cheating Bhajan. Because you're not being honest. You're not being straightforward. Just like all of our friends, wherever I go, I like to visit rural places. And rural people are very simple. They're very straightforward people. They're not, they speak with honesty. And the Brijbasis are like that. You can talk to Dina Bandhu, they use lots of bad words. And they're a little bit rough, but they're simple. And they speak in a very straightforward way. And that's perhaps one of the reasons why Prabhupada said we should not associate intimately with the Brijbasis, because you may get confused. But to speak by principle, we should learn the simplicity of the Brijbasis, and we should be anugata of that simplicity, which means that if I have a problem, I should go to Gurudev instead of saying, yeah, I just want Krishna Prem and I don't want Maya. We should say, I really have a problem. I have 4 girlfriends. And I probably should get married. But I'm not really sure which one. And just be straightforward like that. And then the Sadhu Guru will probably slap you in the face and chastise you. But it's going to be for your benefit. But we should do it also in the mood of the Brijbasis. Not that you raise your hand in the Bhagavatam class and say, Maharaj, I have 4 girlfriends, and what should you don't do that in Bhagavatam class. But you go and meet with them in a private way. And you speak your heart, you speak sincere. But don't just go to him and just say, I have this problem, I have bad breath, and I have to have an operation and this and that. But go to him and say, I have bad breath and I have to have an operation, but I know that what I should be wanting is Krishna Prem. But I'm so unfortunate. That all I'm seeing is my bad breath and my 4 girlfriends and whatever silly things that I have. I'm not seeing this other thing. We don't go to him just asking for something material. Go to him understanding that I want the absolute thing, but being honest where I'm at. That's my humble understanding. Is that helpful?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Manesh Prabhu, you had something?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Happy Appearance Day. Thank you for your lovely class as always. Prabhu, I found it very interesting actually that you were talking about the different moods Mahaprabhu exhibited, especially how kind of this time around he was a little bit in the Manjari Bhav. And it got me thinking, as a Sakhi, your prema, and this is what I read somewhere, I can't remember where, but your prema is most aroused when you're in contact with Krishna because you have a kind of private dealing. And so when you're in Vipralambha, when you're in separation, that's when your prema is most aroused because you miss that. So with the Manjaris, because they like to see Radha and Krishna together, does that mean that kind of, Janvama and the other kind of expansions in Gaura Lila as the Manjaris weren't seeing or experiencing their topmost feelings in this Lila?
They do. I want to speak more about that in our next session.
Okay.
That's okay. Let me touch on it though. Answer your question. What is the Gambhira? I would call it the Gambhira Bhajan Pranali, the system of Bhajan for the Gambhira. What do we learn from it? How do we relate to it? Why Shup Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda, they're doing kirtan for Mahaprabhu because they're Lalita and Vishaka, but they're engaging Rupa Raghunath, Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami, and other followers to also do kirtan. They're manjaris, and those manjaris are engaging their followers who do kirtan, engaging their followers who do kirtan. And that's our business. Our business is to help Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to relish and to experience Radha Bhav. And we do that by assisting our guru, who's assisting their gurus, assisting their, in the mood of manjaris who are serving Lalita, ultimately Sudamana Goswami, who's serving Srimati Radharani by helping Krishna taste Radharani's mood.
I see.
Kind of an esoteric plane.
Thank you. I think I'll wait till the next session. I'll make sure I'm definitely there because I think I can't wait to dive deep in that. It's so juxtaposing in one sense because it's like, you know, who are they seeing when they see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Are they seeing Radha and Krishna together? Are they seeing, you know, Krishna in the mood of Radha? Are they seeing like Radharani not searching for Krishna? It's just so fascinating. I think like the contrast between the two moods is beautiful. It's beautiful.
My humble thought about that direct question is that sometimes they're saying one thing, sometimes they're saying another thing. Just as all the devotees, we hear in private dharma about devotees in Puri, sometimes they're saying the forest, other times they're saying Vrindavan forest. And sometimes the devotees seeing Krishna, sometimes they're not seeing Krishna. Sometimes Mahaprabhu is seeing the devotees, other times he's just seeing Radharani and the gopis. And so they're in different moods at different times also, and they're assisting the Lord in that way, directly and indirectly. Directly, they're assisting by doing kirtan for his pleasure. Indirectly, they're assisting by sharing this with us. This is the greatest thing Mahaprabhu came to give.
Thank you.
Chat. Ujjwala Rasiga, you know, Chaitanya Prabhu said something which we don't want to comment on. Okay. Anybody else with any reflections or anything? Brajavanita, you're not hearing any bombing or anything where you're at, are you?
Not in my area, but I'm aware, you know, that something going on because a lot of projects stop, so frozen. So we are now a lot of shops closed. It's only food and medicine. Pharmacy is open. Some cafe started to open, but slowly, not everywhere. A lot of people moved from the south and the north, from the borders, into the center of the country.
Anyway, we're remembering you every day, worried about you.
Okay, you know, I'm absolutely fine. I'm happy that I'm not in Russia. That give me hope.
Yeah, don't go to Russia. Okay.
That's all. Yeah, this is the place for me that I really. I have a question. Kind of question.
Debrecen recently had some pain at work, and he wasn't feeling very well, so he left work and went home, and he really wasn't feeling very good. And he was telling his wife, and she was kind of like, "Oh, you're okay. Well, I don't know, maybe we should, you know, go to the hospital and get checked." So they went to the hospital, and they said, "Oh my God, we're not sure. It looks like he had a heart attack, but we're not really." They weren't really sure. And then all of a sudden, he died. He died. His heart stopped. And then they were convinced that this is something serious. And they brought him back to life again. They got his heart going again. 2 times his heart stopped. We went to visit this friend of ours in the hospital a few days ago. And he's had some very deep realizations. He told me, he says, "I haven't stopped chanting." and I just read constantly whenever I get a chance. So Krishna help us.
I have very good association here. You know, I'm join again to the group with who I was begin my way. And I love those people. You know, they're Israeli by original Israeli, not comes from somewhere. So I feel home with them. I feel home. I feel good with them. I don't feel artificial with them like I feel with Russian speakers. You see, look at me. We are meeting like that, you know. We are speaking about Krishna, but we are accepting everybody like he come, everybody welcome, you know, like. And I love this mood because this is the true situation where we are actually. I'm not only in Israel or Ukraine. This is the situation of the world. If we are continue to be sectarian, so what the difference between us to some other church? You know, we are the same. I mean, if I'm putting this and this and this and I'm doing silent, so we are out of all this, and it's much easier for us here. And I'm happy about it. And I have, you know, we have personal association, personal relationship. And I have a question about your katha. May I ask you? And happy birthday. And you know that today it's the birthday of Hridayananda Goswami Maharaj too.
Wait.
Yeah, in the
According
same day.
According to the lunar calendar or the solar calendar?
By the day, by 5th of November, this is his birthday too, like yours, and mine 2 days later. So I have a question, few questions, but I will short. First question, you talk about 3 states of consciousness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you said that you could not call them levels because it's not correct. It's actually states of consciousness. So my ask was if we could say the same thing about bhavas, like Sakhi Bhava or Mitra Bhava or Madhurya Bhava. I mean, you can't call them level because the person that he's in particular bhava, for him, this is his bhava. This is not the level. This is like a color. This is the fact. So I think it's correct. This is the one question.
That's
The
what
second,
so I answer that?
Yeah.
That's what it's called sthayi bhavs. Sthayi means permanent. And you're right, it's not that one is higher than another. Although Kaviraj Goswami just described that within Dasya Ras, you'll find all the different qualities of Shanta Ras. And within Sakya Ras, you'll find again all the different qualities of Shanta Ras and Dasya Ras. And then within Vatsalya Priti, you'll find those previous 3. In Madhurya Ras, you'll find the previous 4. So in that sense, Madhurya Rasa is the best. But you can't say that it's like a ladder that you're going up. They're sthayi bhav, they're permanent, and they're perfect for that person. And that person realizes that, you know, I'm a peacock in the spiritual world. That's the best thing in the world. I don't want to be a gopi. I don't want to be anything. I want to be a peacock, or I want to be a tree or a squirrel or whatever it may be. That's the most perfect thing for you. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I just wanted to hear from you. The second one, it's you say also, and I heard this before in your other kathas, and I had been read it in the embankment of separation. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he saw in Chatak Parvat he saw it as a Govardhan. And he saw Yamuna in ocean. So my question is, actually, in our level, we are not seeing Govardhan, and we are not seeing Vrindavan, even if we were living there physically. So actually, we can experience the Bhav or samadhi of pure devotee who has experienced this. So my question is, for us, much more important this experience or reflection of samadhi of those holy dhams from some pure devotee than physically to be there. That's what I mean, physically to be there with some group of people, but that you cannot experience it with this association. You understand what I?
Yeah, I understand. There's three different divisions of seeing. The first is called Drishyaman. Drishyaman means you see what's going on around you. You go to Vrindavan and you see that there's corruption. You see that there's some Russian girls doing prostitution, Hare Krishna. You see that there's some thieves. You see bad things and trash and whatever. You see it, and that's the external vision of this world. The problem with that type of vision is they think themselves to be the drasta or the seer. But actually the position our position should be drista. We're meant to be seen. And pashyanapina pashyati, they're seeing, but they're not seeing. That's drishyaman darshan. Better than that is shabda, or shutekshita pata darshan. The Bhagavatam 3.9.11 says it shutekshita pata, that we see through the ears. We hear from Gurudev. Again, it's theoretical. It's not realized, but we have some understanding of it. And on a basis, we can move, we can operate something. And then there's aprakrit darshan. Aprakrit darshan means directly when someone sees Krishna. They see Krishna, they see Krishna's pastimes, and sometimes great devotees, Prabhupada sometimes would see Krishna in different places. The devotee may be walking down the road and suddenly see Radha and Krishna. Rupa Goswami, there's pastimes like that with him. That's aprakrit darshan, and that's the reality. So is that helpful?
Yes, you actually said the same that I just, yeah. Thank you. That's what I thought. That's how I see things. That's why I'm not running to there, because I understand that I can have it only from someone who I can accept it, like who.
Yeah, you're very fortunate that you have a sangha there. I'm so happy to hear this, Brajapani. I've been worried about you, really. I'm so happy to hear you have some good friends that you can go and chant with and just be with the devotees that you love and love you. That's the most important thing in Krishna consciousness. You don't have to try to fit in with. You don't fit in very good in a lot of places. You're different, Brajapani, but you should just be who you are.
I cannot be something else. The best way I can do something is just by being myself.
Yes. We're very happy to see that. Thank you. Anybody else have any other reflections or anything? Anybody here in the room? Anything? Can I turn the camera? This is Tri Yuga Prabhu. Gornitai is present also, by the way. He was.
He just think about it when you mentioned that Ramananda and Sarupendra Goswami is there to help Lord Chaitanya. And even the Lord needs the help of the Lord. Actually, I have the same.
És hogy nekünk, hogy akkor nem gondolhatjuk azt senki, aki úgy gondolja, az nem fog tudni tenni, hogy nekünk, hát mi a magunk erejéből tudunk bármi is elérni.
According this realization, when we just think that we can alone can do anything in our Krishna consciousness, it's just nonsense. So even the Lord needs some help and support and encouragement.
És hogy amikor jöttünk ma ide, akkor útközben történt egy érdekes dolog, ami most lett jelentése számomra.
When we came here today and we arrived, some strange thing happened, and now I have some understanding about this.
Not strange, amazing thing.
Amazing thing happened.
Hogy itt a Portobágyról jöttünk keresztül, ez itt az itteni a földi síkság, vagy nem tudom, hogy mondják.
We came throughout this land, this flat land. Portobágy, it's called.
És akkor útközben amit először láttunk, először megjelent egy sötéteső felhő.
First, first just a dark cloud arrived.
És akkor utána megérkezett egy szivárvány.
And then a rainbow arrived.
És akkor utána daluk kezdtek.
And the birds.
She's on the way.
Then the birds.
Cranes. Especially cranes.
Did the cloud talk to you?
No, unfortunately no. Igen, hogy akkor csak az jött így be nekünk, hogy így a Joe-kával így egymásra is néztünk, és mondtuk, hogy azt milyen csodálatos az egész most így. De nem volt semmi krit, tehát nem jutott eszembe Krishna.
And then when we saw this to you, we just thought that, oh, such an amazing creation, this, but unfortunately we did not remember directly to Krishna.
És akkor most, hogy eljöttünk ide, és volt tudtunk társulni,
and now when we just heard your kata and we had the good fortune to associate with you.
És akkor ahogy mesélte ezt Mahaprabhu, hogy így ahogy Radharani beszél a felhőhöz.
And then you speak about that how Srimati Radharani talked with the cloud.
Akkor teljesen más értelmet nyert ez a látvány.
I had a different understanding of this view.
És akkor értelmet nyert az a dolog is, hogy hát a baktit azt a baktáktól lehetnek kapni.
And throughout this I again understood that bhakti comes from bhakti. We can get bhakti from devotees who have bhakti.
És köszönjük szépen ezt a lehetőséget, mert most már ha egy ilyet fogunk látni, akkor mi is el tudunk adni.
So thank you very much for this opportunity to hear from you this pastime. And after, in the future, when we will see something like this, we can remember all the.
You'll try to talk to the cloud next time.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think we can imitate. Okay. Anything else from anybody here? Can I look at you?
I'm looking at the purport from Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada says that if someone thinks that without the association with devotees they can become Krishna conscious, and I thought that he used the word phantasmagoria, but I couldn't find a quote.
Fourth canto, Bhagavatam.
Fourth canto, yeah, but I can't find it. Sometimes I can't find it. So I was just remembering that.
Yeah.
Beautiful kata. I love this topic. Great comment from Jagrapur about Lalita Devi, Swarup Damodar Goswami having the same mood as Lalita Devi, and therefore experiencing this roller coaster of emotions of Srimati Radharani. For this, she needs to bring back Mahaprabhu out of internal consciousness, at least to have internal.
All right, anybody else want to share anything? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop. Rajabanita, you be careful, okay? Really, please take care of yourself.
I promise.
I'm so happy to see you today, Vajavanita. We speak quite a bit about you with my husband, and we were.
I was happy to see you too, Krishna Kund, even for a few seconds.
You know, I have this really nice white jumper somebody from Israel gave me. I've had for
you make me, you know, how to say, you make me act in the same way again when you speak about it. I feel that I'm not doing enough.
Please take care of yourself. We worry about you. Now we have a lot more worries. We were just worried about our friends in Ukraine. Now we're worried about our friends in Israel also.
We are on the same part, you know. Now it's very clear, you know. Now it's almost black and white. Almost black and white. So it's very clear become. It's a two-part. So I'm very happy that we are in the same part with Ukraine, because we are actually in the same part.
All right, take care of yourself. Okay, nobody else anything burning they want to share? Otherwise, we'll see you all next week. Next week should be our last session in this series. We can go, I think we could probably talk about this for 100 years, the Gambhira pastimes of Mahaprabhu, but we're just going to set a final part to it. So next week will be our last session for this series. Thank you all very much. Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Gaur Premanandi, Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha, Kripa Sindhu Devacha, Patita